King Charles is quietly running one of the most complicated damage control operations of his entire reign, and it is happening inside his own family. In public, he has pushed Prince Andrew as far away from the spotlight as humanly possible. In private, he is still acting as his brother's safety net. This is not just royal drama, it is a masterclass in pretending someone does not exist while still making sure they do not completely fall apart behind the scenes. And honestly, this might be one of the most awkward balancing acts the monarchy has faced in decades. From the outside, the message is very clear. Andrew has no official role, no royal responsibilities, and no place at public royal events. His name has been quietly removed from the main royal websites, and his public image has been stripped down to that of a private citizen. The palace has worked overtime to create clear distance between him and the institution. If you were to look for him through official royal platforms, it almost feels like he has been gently erased with a very polite royal eraser. But behind those palace walls, things look very different. King Charles has reportedly chosen a strategy that could best be described as distant in public and supportive in private. He cannot be seen defending his brother because that would cause a public relations explosion that nobody at the palace wants to deal with. At the same time, he does not want Andrew to completely unravel. So instead of public statements and visible support, he offers quiet structure, boundaries and emotional backing that never makes it into the headlines. Charles seems to believe that even the most controversial relatives still need stability. Imagine installing parental controls on a grown man who lives in a palace. The public sees distance, but behind the scenes there are quiet check-ins, careful arrangements, and a lot of invisible planning designed to keep Andrew from creating even bigger problems. Andrew's living situation tells its own story. He has reportedly been moved away from highly visible royal residences and quietly settled into private accommodation on the Sandringham estate. This was not just about real estate, it was about optics. You are not completely banished, but you are also not living in the royal spotlight. It is royal grounding, adult edition, with fewer privileges and a lot more silence. Financially and emotionally, it appears that Charles is still offering more help than the public would expect. Officially, the royal institution has drawn a thick line between itself and Andrew. Unofficially, there is still a quiet flow of support. This includes help with everyday living and guidance that sounds very much like counselling, but without the press statements. It is a very British approach to crisis management, where nothing is confirmed and everything is handled privately. What makes this situation especially intense is that Charles is not only dealing with a public scandal, he is dealing with a lifetime of shared memories. This is the brother he grew up with, argued with, laughed with, and stood beside in countless family moments. Turning your back on a sibling is not as simple as deleting a phone number, especially when you are also responsible for protecting a global institution. People close to the situation describe the emotional pressure as constant. On one side, Charles has a monarchy to protect. On the other, he has a brother who is still a human being, no matter how damaged his public image has become. Every decision feels like walking through a minefield while wearing polished shoes and a perfectly pressed suit, because one wrong move could explode into worldwide headlines. Andrew, interestingly, appears to be cooperating with the silent strategy. Friends have suggested he does not plan to give dramatic interviews, no sit-down television specials, and no explosive memoirs. There is no Tell My Truth book tour in the works. Instead, the approach seems simple. Stay hidden, avoid attention, and in return continue receiving private support from the king. This quiet arrangement suits both sides. Andrew avoids adding fuel to a fire that could easily spiral out of control. Charles avoids triggering a new wave of scandals that would further weaken public trust. It is not reconciliation, it is more like a silent agreement. You stay quiet, and I will make sure you do not completely fall through the cracks. The royal family, as an institution, has made its position extremely clear. Andrew is not part of the working monarchy. He does not represent the crown. He does not appear at major royal events. On paper, he's treated like a private citizen with an extremely famous surname and an extremely uncomfortable history. That public separation is intentional, visible, and carefully maintained. Behind closed doors, the reality is far more complicated. Charles reportedly feels a deep responsibility to keep Andrew within a controlled safety net. Not celebrated, not defended, not promoted, just managed. It is not about approval, it is about containment. It is about preventing the situation from spiraling into something even more damaging. If you picture the palace dynamic, it resembles the most awkward family group chat imaginable. Everyone is careful, nobody wants to say the wrong thing, and every message feels like it could be leaked. Charles is trying to lead a country, protect a monarchy, and quietly manage a family crisis at the same time. That is not something you learn from a handbook. There is a strange irony in all of this. The man who waited decades to wear the crown is now spending his reign navigating a scandal he did not personally create. He is trying to preserve dignity while dealing with family chaos that refuses to stay quiet. It is politics mixed with personal history, blended into a situation where there are no perfect solutions, only careful damage control. This is what makes the story so compelling. It is not just about castles, titles, or headlines. It is about loyalty, embarrassment, responsibility, and the pressure of living under constant global attention. Charles is not just balancing a crown, he is balancing decades of complicated family history, public expectation, and personal conflict all at the same time. And that brings us to the real question. How long can this balancing act last before something slips, someone speaks, or the silence breaks? Because history has shown us that royal secrets rarely stay buried forever, and quiet arrangements often come with expiration dates. If you enjoyed this deep dive into royal drama, hidden negotiations, and the real stories happening behind palace walls, make sure you subscribe to the Sussex Squad so you never miss an episode. Help the channel grow by leaving a like, sharing this video, and supporting through Super Thanks if you're able. You can also buy me a coffee to help keep this channel running. Every bit of support helps the research, the time, and the storytelling. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me what you think about this situation. I love reading your takes. I will see you in the next episode, and thank you for being part of the Sussex Squad.